Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Brother Nakwam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. Ba'ashima Mashiach Malak Yabushai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Malak Yabushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom to those men. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying. They're fasting. They're studying. They're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. And shalom to all of the Aquaf out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the household, to reverence to the husbands, being submissive and diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom, shalom. Topic of this cold cut is rapid fire Q&A, breaking down the scriptures, right? Plain upon tables. The Most High commanded us to make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it in the book of Habakkuk, the second chapter. Right? I'm gonna pull that up. The Lord said, write the vision and make it plain. Right? So it's the job of the servants of the Most High is when they receive information from Yahweh Bashmi Abashai, rather men receive visions or dreams. In that case, Habakkuk, right, the Lord dealt with him on a particular level. He was told to write these things and make it plain that the people may know what to, really do with that information, right? Rather it's a charge of repentance, or it's a charge to call a nation to fast, or it's a cause to get ready for war, right? Habakkuk chapter 2 and 2. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. So the purpose of making things plain is that the message may be delivered, and that whoever receives the message, they can have some clarity, and it can be no, type of ambiguity when it comes to that message and that wisdom, right? So things have to be made plain that people may understand it. All right. And the job of the servants of the Lord is to go through the scriptures and break the word down. Right. When you go to the book of Acts, it's a perfect example in the book of Acts, chapter 27. And I'll start at 34. Right. Now, this is Philip running to the eunuch. Now, the eunuch said, right, this Acts chapter 8 and 27. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship. Now, this man was an Israelite, right? He came from Ethiopia. He was not an Ethiopian by blood. He was not a Cushite, if you can understand, down in his genealogy or in his ancestry. Our people were scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, and he came and he knew the law. Right? In Deuteronomy chapter 16, you have to come to Jerusalem 3 times a year, every Israelite, whether you live in the land or whether you are scattered abroad. Right? That's the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, aka your Pentecost, and your Feast of Tabernacles. All right. So he came to Jerusalem to worship, was returning and sitting in his chariot, read Isaiah the prophet. Then a spirit said unto Philip, go near and join thyself to this chariot. And Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah, and said, understandest what thou readest? And Philip had to write to ask that. And Philip wasn't a nobody, right? He was a somebody. He was a big deal. He was one of the 7 deacons, for lack of better terms, set up by Peter, John, and James to facilitate to the widows and to help carry some of the burdens of the church. And he's been very well versed in the Torah and in the prophets and in the writings. So he said, understandest thou what thou readest? Meaning, what you're reading, does it make sense? Do you get it? And he said, how can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. So we all have to be guided. There's not one man, right, that's born of flesh and blood who has had the Most High himself get off his throne and break the word down to him. Right? Certain men, they receive visions from dreams and revelations. We get that. And even the Holy Spirit sups with you and so shows you things in the scriptures that man may not, and may give you a higher level of understanding. But nevertheless, every man is being guided by some man. right? Rather you first come in this truth, or rather you've been in this thing for some while, a brother still should have some man to have reach out for counsel or some type of wisdom and advice from when it comes to instruction to how to move in his truth, right? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. So we all have to be guided, and we all have to learn how to break the scriptures down, in the right thing. Now this is a Q&A, and he said, how can I? That was a question, except a man should guide me, right? So here's another question, right, from Jake for Life 45. I heard an elder break down the scripture about the wheat and the tares, saying it was talking about wicked Israelites. Is this true? Well, let's deal with it, right? It's the wheat and the tares talking about wicked Israelites. Well, it's a manifold parable, right? It goes into wicked Israelites, yes, but it also goes into the other nations, all right? Because guess who's going to have the same judgment? The 2/3 are going to be destroyed by the lake of fire, the same way that the so-called white men in the other nations are. All right. Now, as we go through this parable, you'll see the breakdown. This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 13 and verse 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. Right? Now, the man is Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai. Right? He's the chief husbandman. All right? He's the one that owns the field, which is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom. They're that holy seed that you read about in the book of Ezra. Right? Let's go to Ezra chapter 9. Kind of go through this wheat and tares. This is the book of Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 2. Right? For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed, see that we are the holy seed, right? So that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers hath been chief in this trespass, right? Now you have this good seed, which is the children of the kingdom, the elect, all right? It reads, and they're sown in the field. The field is the world, right? When you go to St. Matthew 13 and 38, it tells you that, right? The field is the world. The good seed, right? The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. So now Yahushua kind of explains that parable. He answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. So let's go back to this. All right, Matthew chapter 13 and 25. But while he slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Right now, when you deal with while it says, but while men slept, right? This is speaking about the time period when we were cut off from our heritage, cut off from our nationality, right? Cut off from this truth. And the enemy is the spiritual demon Satan, and who plants tares amongst the wheat. So there are men that are in this truth, right? Who know the knowledge of this truth, who keep the laws and commandments, who are built up in the faith. And then you have tares. A tare is someone who resembles the wheat, but they're not the wheat. So a tare are people who are those who are the children of the wicked one, right? Those who say that they believe in the Most High, those who say they have a relationship with the Most High, those who say they're in a God-fearing nation and God we trust, those who are Catholics, those who are Christians, those of particular people, right, which are the 2/3, also combined with the other nations, who come off as if they're the people of the Most High, but they're really not. See, when you read Matthew the 13th chapter, Matthew the 13th chapter has multiple parables about the good and the bad, and them being gathered together. All right, and the tares receiving their judgment, and the wheat receiving their reward. Now, I'm gonna read 13 to 25 again, but I'm gonna show you the same parable exemplified in another parable later in the chapter. All right, so it says, "By while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way." So you have the wheat and then you have the tares. If you look at wheat, right? Let's see, wheat and tares. They're identical. All right, they look exactly the same. And you have to have a keen eye to be able to discern between the wheat and the tares. Right? Because you really can't tell. All right. It's actually hard to tell the difference between wheat and tares. Just like a mortal man can't discern who's the elect, who's not the elect, who's chosen, who's not chosen. Right? Because you have Israelites that are in this truth, and they can really be the tares. They can have fringes on, a border of blue, a beard in their face, and still be destroyed. They could be really hypocrites, right? They could be doing work in the darkness. It's hard for a mortal man to gauge and determine who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. So the wheat and the tares represent the multitude of flesh and blood who carry about different attributes. Some, come off as if they're righteous, and some are the righteous, but only Yahweh Shemi Abishai knows. Right? And you can see that with the wheat and the tares. You can't tell. You don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if you're going to make it. You probably have fringes on just like me. Right? You probably, you do the work, you read, you study. But no, we don't know. We could both be the wheat. We could both be the tares. We don't know until that day. All right? So when you go into this, I want to show this also later on in this same chapter. Let's actually jump down to the book of Matthew, chapter 13. And verse 47. Right, here's that same parable and in a different situation. Right, again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind. Right, so the every kind are the wheat and the tares, all kinds of fish, which when it was full, meaning the day of judgment, they drew to shore and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just. So the tares are the wicked. The just are the wheat. Are the other nations the only wicked? No. They're the chief wicked. Yeah, we get it. But our people are also wicked. So the tares are the wicked, meaning those who refuse to submit to Yahweh Bashmi Abishai. The just are those who keep the laws and commandments through faith. Just like in this parable, you had the good fish and you had the bad fish. So you have to look at that fish and say, nah, this one looked bad. This one too small. It kind of, when I first reeled it in, it looked like, a 13-inch, 14-inch bass. Now I kind of look at it, it's really too small. Let me throw it away. And that's what you do when you go fishing for the most part, man. When you go fishing, for those who have went fishing, you catching your fishing. You don't have time to really look at it in detail and say, should I keep this, should I not? You kind of killing them in, reeling them in. And when you're done, you kind of look at them for the most part, especially if you got a quantity. Certain places you can only, fish, 30 fish is 25. It depends on where you at and the kind of fish. So at the end, you say, nah, this one was way too small. I can't believe I kept this one. And you'll throw it in there. And a good one, you say, man, this is a keeper. And you put in that cooler with that ice in it. But you really don't know till it's all said and done. That's the same thing with the wheat and the tares. So the angels, right, they're the ones that know all things in the earth. Right? When you go to the book of 2 Samuel, let's go to 2 Samuel. See, the angels, they have a particular spirit that man doesn't have. See, man, you have an idea of who's righteous and who's wicked, but you don't know who's the elect at the end of the day. Because who you may think is kind of falling away, and he could bounce back. Right? He could bounce back in this thing. And who you think is extra righteous, they could fall off in the day of evil and in faint in the day of adversity. So it's hard for man to really determine who's the elect, who's not the elect. So the angels, they have that understanding, right? 2 Samuel chapter 14 and 17. Here's a little bit about the angels. Then thine handmaid said, The word of my Lord the king shall now be comfortable. For as an angel of the Most High, so is my Lord the king to discern good and bad. Like in that parable, you have the good fishes, you have the bad. You have the wheat, which is the good, you have the tares. So the angels can discern who's the elect, who's not the elect. Right? And this handmaid lets you know how the angels operate. Right? So is my Lord the king to discern good and bad. Therefore, the Lord thy God will be with thee. All right, here's another account. 2 Samuel 14:20. To fetch about this form of speech, hath thy servant Joab done this thing. And my Lord is wise, according to the wisdom of an angel of the Most High, to know all things that are in the earth. So that's why Yahweh Shah said the angels are going to sever the wicked from among the just, because the angels know who's the elect. They know who's chosen from the foundation of the world. They know who's going to be destroyed. The Most High programmed them with that knowledge. Man has not been programmed with that knowledge. What is man? That thou art mindful of him, huh? You know, even in Job, let's go to Job chapter, I believe that's 9, right? This is Job chapter 9 and verse 20. If I should justify myself, my own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse. So a man don't even know if he's perfect. You don't even know if you're going to make it. That's what Job said. Now you can say, well, I'm not Job. I know I'm going to make it. Shoot, I know my name. I'm a Judite. I'm in this thing. I'm going to make it to the kingdom. I got a chariot with my name on it. Well, you'll be a pervert, man. You'll be perverse. Even the mightiest man would not justify himself. So if you're not going to justify yourself, how are you going to be able to separate the wheat from the tares? It reads, though I were perfect, yet would I not know my soul. I would despise my life. All right. This is one thing. Therefore, I said it. He destroyed the perfect and the wicked. You see that? So the Most High, he's going to discern between who's the perfect, who's the wicked. The Lord cuts down mighty men. The Lord destroys wicked men. Right? He has that final say so. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 9. Who can say, I have made my heart clean, I am pure from my sin? And that's a rhetorical question, and the answer is nobody. Nobody can say, I have made my heart clean, I am pure from my sin. So that's why this parable, the Lord is letting you know that everybody that say that they're righteous ain't righteous. Everybody who you think is off ain't really off. You can get on a brother based off of what you see, but deep in the spirit, you don't know his heart, right? You don't know his intentions. You don't know what he has been called for. People looked at the apostle Paul. Paul came out of that, and Paul is one of the elect. And the thing about it is, the secret behind it is Paul was the elect while he was off. While Paul was murdering, he was still the elect. If that makes sense. While Moses was in Egypt, he was still the elect. While you were in your sins, you were still the elect. You know? Now, some men are going to die in those sins, and some men are going to be brought forth out of that. All right? So let's read on. So we're kind of going a little bit deeper than expected with the wheat and the tares, but this is something we haven't touched on in a while, so we want to kind of go into it and break this down. All right? So let's go back to Matthew, right? Chapter Salakia 13, where we left off, dealing with this parable. Okay, Matthew chapter 13 and 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. That's Yahweh Shah, putting the children of Israel in the earth, creating that holy nation. Right? Putting that seed of Israel, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Asher, Issachar, Gad, Naphtali, Zebulun, Dan, Benjamin, right? Joseph, putting all of those tribes on the earth. All right. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Now, really, the enemy, and I'm going to jump up and down. The enemy is the spiritual demon Satan. All right, let's actually jump down and let's prove that. Okay, Matthew 13 and 39. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. So the devil, which really is the spiritual demon Satan, he is the one who sowed tares among the wheat. Now, how does Satan sow tares among the wheat? Because man was made to be righteous. Man was made to be upright. Man was made to be obedient to laws and commandments. Satan's job is to plant seeds of evil, deception, and guile, and sin and lies in these same men. So these same men who you thought may have been righteous have the grain of evil seed, or I don't want to use that word, to have sin embedded in them that's going to rule over them. All right. So you have tares among the wheat, men that are directly influenced by the spiritual demon Satan, and Satan rules over those men. Right? Let's get that in Genesis chapter 4. Now, they may look like they're righteous, but at the end of the day, they were predestinated to go down a path of darkness. All right? Genesis chapter 4 and verse, I want to start at 7. I'm going to start at 6. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? I mean, why are you mad? Right? Why are you mad that you did a wicked sacrifice? If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Now, nobody knew Cain was the tares amongst flesh and blood. Abel is the wheat, Cain is the tares. Right? Now, who put that spirit in Cain to become a tare? Satan. Right? That's why he was a murderer and a liar. He already had that in him. The Most High just gave him over to it. Right? He says, if thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted. But the Most High knew that he wouldn't do well. He knew that Cain was created to be of the wicked one. Right? So if you do right, hey, we ain't gonna have no problems. And if thou doest not well, I mean, if you still want to live a life of evil, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So the tares, they have been created with the desire to serve Satan when it's all said and done. And Satan rules over them. Yeah, they may, and Cain was a dark-skinned man at this time. Woolly hair, woolly beard. But just because you look like an Israelite doesn't mean you're going to receive the reward of Israel. Remember, even the Apostle Paul said all Israel is not Israel. So some men, they look the part, but really Satan rules over them, and that's their desire. And they were programmed to move in that fashion. So the Lord accredited that programming to Satan, said Satan has sowed tares amongst the wheat, meaning certain men are programmed to serve the spiritual demon Satan, right? It's in their spirit, all right? Romans chapter 9 and verse 6. Not as though the word of the Most High hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. That's plain. So everybody ain't chosen that's an Israelite. And some people are of the wicked one, right? Let's get that in 1 John. This is 1 John chapter 3 and verse 12. Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous. So Cain was of the wicked one. Is Cain the only one that's of the wicked one? No. Anybody that is not the elect, they are of the wicked one. That's plain. That's as plain as it gets. If you're not the elect, you are of the wicked one. You have been planted by Satan. That's what this is talking about. The enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and that causes confusion. You'll be upset, man. You know, if you have all of this wheat and somebody plants tares amongst it, that causes confusion. That's why it says the Most High is not the author of confusion. But who is Satan? He brings confusion. So when you want to go take your wheat up to eat and prosper, you might take tares with you. Then you got tares living amongst the wheat. You know? So if you was a husbandman in the ancient world and you needed to gather this wheat for the harvest, if you didn't know, you would gather tares, and you'll be eating the tares and taking your time to deal with the tares. Right? So Satan's job is to corrupt the righteous and corrupt what Yahweh Bashar has set up. Yahweh has a kingdom. He has a good seed. Satan wants that good seed to be infected by evil men. So you have the righteous dwelling amongst the wicked. All right. Verse 26. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? From whence hath it tares? Right? Meaning, I thought you made man to be upright. I thought man was made in your image. I thought you sowed good seed in the earth. Man was made in your likeness. Man was told to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. How is there sodomites now? Right? How are there men who are Old Testament Israelites? How are there men that are idolaters? What happened? I thought you sowed good seed. Right? The Lord said, Behold, I have made man upright. Right? Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and 29. Lo, this only have I found, that the Most High hath made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. So the angels or the servants say, which are really the prophets, I thought you made man upright, Lord. I thought you sowed good seed. What happened? Well, guess what? They sought out many inventions, meaning they have sought out wickedness, because they have been created to be the wicked, but they have been planted amongst the upright. Right? When you go to the Apocrypha, we're going to get a few more of this wheats and tares. Like I said, I'm spending a good amount of time on this one because this is something that we have to touch on, right? We haven't touched on it in a while, right? Where's it? 1611. All right, let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 9. And I believe I want verse 19. See, this one don't have the Apocrypha. Okay. We'll do like the 2nd Ezra, chapter 9 and 19. I'm going to start at 18. Well, this whole chapter is good. All right, 2nd Ezra 9 and 19. For then everyone obeyed, right? But now the manners of them which are created in this world that is made are corrupted by a perpetual seed, and by a law which is unsearchable, rid themselves. Right? So man was created to obey the Most High, but now there's a perpetual seed that corrupts man. You see that? That's the seed that was planted by Satan. So I considered the world, and behold, there was peril because of the devices that were coming to it. Right? The devices is what? Sodomy, transformers, theft, idolatry, sacrilege, adultery, evil, man stealing. The world was made for everyone to obey, but then it became dangerous for man because of sin that was brought into it. And I saw and spared it greatly, and kept me a grape of the cluster and a plant of a great people. So the Lord knows who the wheat are, right? And he knows who the tares are. Let the multitude perish then that was born in vain. So the tares were born in vain. And let my grape be kept and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. So that's the wheat and the tares, right? The tares are the multitude that was born in vain, right? That are destroyed by the devices of sin that have been coming to the world, planted by Satan. And the wheat are the grape and the plant of the Most High that has been made perfect. Right? Let's read on. He said unto him, an enemy had done this. So the servant said unto him, without then that we go and gather them up, are we going to gather the wheat amongst the tares? Are men going to go out there and say, you're the 144,000, You're the elect of Benjamin. You're the 12,000 man from Reuben. You're the 11,000 man from Asher. Are we just going to gather the wheat from the tares? But he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, when you charge the men to be the wicked, ye root up also the wheat with them. Because man really don't know, right? Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So you're going to let them grow into the time of harvest. The time of harvest is the time when you reap your fruit, the rewards of your labor. The harvest is the end of the world. We'll jump down and read that. That's what the harvest is. All right. Matthew 13:39. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and their reapers are the angels. So it's been explained. At the harvest, the angels are going to come and reap up and take up the wheat, and take the wheat and put them in the barns, because they know who's the good and who's the bad. And they're going to take the tares and they're going to bind them up and burn them. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend and them which do iniquity. And that's not just the Edomites. You have wicked Israelites, to this brother's question, that offend and do iniquity as well, that are sold amongst the wheat. All right. So yes, that's true. It's also talking about wicked Israelites. Okay, another question. I heard the same in the reason of Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. It's also referring to wicked Israelites. Now I'm confused. No, when you go to Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, let's deal with that. All right, this is Revelation chapter 2:9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, are the synagogue of Satan. Now, this is chiefly speaking about Amalek, right? The Amalekites. Right now, in the spirit, you had Israelites who are not of Israel. We read that in Romans 9:6, right? But this is chiefly prophetically written for our learning, to understand that the Amalekite man who says that he's a Jew and he is not, they are the synagogue of Satan. All right. Now, Revelation 3:9 further adds to that. Oh boy, hold on, let me go back. Okay, Revelation 3:9. Because the Lord is not about to have these same people who say that they're Jews and are not come bow down before your feet. That doesn't line up with prophecy. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet. So why would the Most High have Israelites and the day of the Lord come and worship before other Israelites' feet, and to know that I have loved thee? So that's not talking about wicked Israelites. All right, because this fits the prophecy, right, of Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 60. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 14. The sons of them that afflicted thee, that's not talking about Israelites that afflicted us, shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of Yahweh, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. So this is going into the heathen. Revelation 3:9 is dealing with the heathen, and they're going to worship before our feet and know that the Lord hath loved us. Right? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 14. Get one more than that. And verse 19. The evil bow before the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. So sometimes when you see this word evil and wicked, sometimes it's talking about wicked Israelites, and sometimes it's only talking about the so-called white man. Now you can say, well, how do I know? How do you know this isn't talking about wicked Israelites? Because the wicked Israelites are evil, but that's why you have to link up a brother. I can't remember what brother, I think Ariah said that you got to go prophecy upon prophecy too, man. Right? So you got to link up the prophecies. Or what I like to say, the chronology of prophecy. because you have to know how these prophecies work in order. This is the same spirit as Isaiah chapter 60 and 14. Same spirit as Revelation chapter 3 and 9. So Revelation 3 and 9 is speaking about false Jews. Isaiah chapter 60 is in the kingdom, the men that afflicted us, the heathen. That links directly up with Proverbs 14 and 19. So the evil are the other nations that are going to bow down before the just. All right, so you have to go into those prophecies and understand the spirit of what's being written too. Not just the text, but the spirit of prophecies that have been before that link up with that, if that makes sense. Okay, let's move on. Shalom family from Hopeful Servant 7. What do you think about the Ethiopian Bible dating farther back than the King James? Would you use it for cross-referencing or negate it altogether? I would negate it altogether. If you pull up, let's actually see if we can pull this up. Let's pull up the Ethiopian, right? People say, "Oh, the Ethiopian Bible is the oldest Bible, and it has every book ever created." And right, let's pull this up. Let's actually, I just want to go straight to the books. A book list. All right, let's see. Get a book list. List the books in the Ethiopian Bible. Right, we'll go off of this source right here. Okay, so they have. Look at this. They have 4 Maccabees books. They have 4th Baruch. Right, we're not dealing with 4th Baruch. We're not dealing with I'm not sure what Josephon is. Right? Let's see what else we got. Right, so they have extra books. Right? I don't know, I'm not an expert, but they have Clement, Gospel of Clement. Right? Basically, they have books that our forefathers didn't deem Canaan. All right, and you have men like Athanasius, who was a Trinitarianism believer, right? Nevertheless, a lot of the books that were canonized came through him and through other councils, right? And a lot of the King James actually goes back to when you deal with the translations in the history of the Bible. The King James got a lot of the Hebrew text from the Leningrad Codex. All right. Now, the Leningrad Codex was a primary source for a lot of different versions you see now. The King James, New King James, ESV, CSB, NIV. And not only that, a lot of those texts in the Hebrew of the King James, it was a little bit more thorough. So a lot of the annotations in there, a lot of the punctuation, a lot of the sense of the Hebrew has been more qualified and verified by the scholarship of the King James than it has been with any other translation, right? So the King James is a little bit more thorough, right, when it comes to the translations. And we'll do a whole breakdown on the translations of the Bible and go into the different codexes and go into the Latin Vulgate, who preceded the Wycliffe Bible and the Tinsdale. And King James used a lot of the Tinsdale too. A lot of the Tinsdale came from previous versions in the English, like the Wycliffe and the Latin Vulgate that proceeded from Jerome. So when you go through that history, and I don't want to speak to just run through it, but just simply based off of the scholarship of how it was translated and the amount of reproof and the checks and balances it took with the King James, that's why most brothers in this truth, they deal with the King James. So I wouldn't use the Ethiopian Bible just because it so-called dates further back. Just like I wouldn't use a Model T car, because it's from the early 1900s. Just because something is older doesn't mean that it's more true or more valid. All right, that's something that we got to kind of take out, right? Just like they may say, well, the oldest text goes back to the East Indians and it goes back to 3000 BC. Well, what does that mean? Just because it was written in 3000 BC doesn't mean it's qualified to to go toe to toe with the Bible. All right. Remember, we're the newest nation on the earth. So we're not going to have, as a nation, records that precede nations that have been here before us. The Elamites have been here before us. The Cushites have been here before us. Right? The Moabites have been here. We're a newer nation. You understand, the children of Israel, if not the newest nation created out of the 18 nations. So our history is going to pick up with a time that Jacob's name was changed to Israel. You know? And then it's going to go and proceed to the time we have now. But just dealing with the Bible per se, I wouldn't deal with the Ethiopian Bible simply because it dates further. And now that I use it for a cross-reference due to the amount of books that we don't see as inspired by Yahweh Bashmi Abashai. We don't see Baruch 4 being inspired by the Most High. We call those books pseudepigrapha books. The Testament of Adam and Eve, right? The book of Jubilees, right? The current circulating book of Jasher. That is not the existing book of Jasher. The book of Enoch, right? All of these books are pseudepigrapha books. These are books that we believe that have not and then we're not just saying it ourselves. There are men that have been here hundreds of years before us, man. Early church fathers who said, yeah, these books, they have not been inspired by Yahweh Bashmi Abashai, right? And for a plethora of reasons. That's why it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and further, my son, be admonished. Of making many books, there is no end. And further, by these, my son, be admonished. Of making many books, there is no end. And much study is a weariness of the flesh. Right? So, we deal with the King James Version primarily. All right? Primarily. All right, so the brothers are asking questions. Let's move. All right, let's move on. Let's see where we at. And like I said, I'll have to do a whole in-depth breakdown on the Bible translations, all the way from ancient manuscripts to the King James Version, and kind of go through that through the Spirit, Lord willing. Lord willing, we could do that soon. Elijah Jones. The word black is sometimes used negatively in the Bible. Job 30 and 30, Song of Solomon, chapter 1, 5 through 6. But in Lamentations 5 and 10, it also seems that it's because of poor conditions Israel was in, correct? Well, yeah, that is correct. So the word black in the Bible is always used for judgment or affliction. All right, it's always used for judgment and or affliction for the most part. All right, unless it's an actual color, right? But judgment or affliction. Colors in the Bible mean things. Red means bloodshed or war. White symbolizes righteousness or holiness. Green symbolizes health, right? And living prosperously, paraphrasing, right? You have black symbolizes judgment, right? So you have all of these colors that mean different things. Gold, right? We know gold is what? The royal color, right? Blue is a royal color, right? So these are things that mean something in the ancient world. Now, when you're dealing with black, let's do it black. Okay, let's pull this back up. And we've covered that color black before, but the brother went into Job 30. The true essence of these scriptures of Job 30 and Song of Solomon are not positive, right? Job 30 and 30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burnt with heat. My heart is turned to mourning, and my organ to the voice of them that weep. Now, why did Job say my skin is black upon me? My bones are burnt with heat. Now, we always break the scripture down in simplest terms to go into our people and have a color being described in the Bible, which is nothing wrong with that. But the deeper meaning behind his verse, it's not more so of a skin color thing. The deeper meaning behind his verse is the affliction and the judgment that Job was dealing with. Remember, he lost his sons and his daughters. He had boils from the head to the toe, right? His wife turned against him. He was robbed of all of his livelihood and cattle and livestock. You understand? So either you could be white or you can be black. Your skin, right? So when you go into let's actually go into it. You may say, I don't know about that. That sounds strange, right? So I want to choose my words wisely. Let's not offend, right? You want to be white or you want to be black. Now the elect that have ears to hear, you want to be white, right? If you got ears to hear, you want to be white, right? You don't want to be black. Now you got, oh, why? How come I don't want to be black? I'm not talking about literal skin color. First of all, nobody's literally black. They have brown skin. So you don't have to get offended. Black symbolizes judgment. White symbolizes righteousness. Check it out. Song of Solomon, chapter 5 and 10. My beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. His head is as the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. So why does it say my beloved is white and ruddy? Why is Yahweh Shah being described as white? Is it because it's talking about this guy? Right? Is it talking about this man? White Jesus? Well, he's not white. We have to take the color and stop really attributing it to man, to describe man. He's red, he's pink. So he's a pink man, we're brown. All this white, black stuff is witchcraft and confusion. We're brown, and we come in different shades of brown, you know, some lighter than others, but he's pink and red. He comes in different shades of red, from a light pink to a scarlet red, man. You know? So nobody's white or black on the earth. But spiritually, that color is used to describe your estate of life at that time. Now, Yahweh Shai is white and ruddy, meaning he's righteous, pure. All right, let's deal with that white before we deal with black, just so we can understand that contrast. Let's go to Revelation chapter 19. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 19 and verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For fine linen is the righteousness of saints. You see that? So what does that fine white linen represent? Righteousness of the saints. That's plain. Right? Let's deal with another one. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 8. It reads, let thy garments be always white, and let thy head lack no ointment. So you want to always have your garment white, meaning you're covering, right? This truth, your Holy Spirit, right? Who you are should always be pure, without sin, without spot, and without blemish. You should never, ever want to be how Job was. You don't never, ever, ever want to be in Job's estate, right? Job was black. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. So Yahweh Shai sat upon a white cloud. Does that mean he was sitting up there on Nimbus? He was on cloud 9? No. This cloud is a chariot. White symbolizes righteousness, right? And purity. But again, there's a person that you really don't want to be like. And this estate. Look at this. Job's present state is humiliating because Job is dealing with affliction. Job is catching hell. And he summed it up and said, I am black. When you read this chapter, we are black. Now you can say, I thought you said we wasn't black. We're being afflicted. We're being judged. All right? That's what it means. Our spiritual estate is black. Our skin is not black. Our spiritual estate is black. As a people, we strive for our spiritual estate to be white. We want to be righteous and holy. The so-called white man, if you can understand, he is living as if he is white, but he is really black. right? Because he's the man of sin. There's nobody blacker than a white man, if you can understand. So now we kind of using these colors in its right context. We're using these colors in its right context so well, humbly speaking, that it may seem confusing because we have been destroyed for so long. White, black, brown, red. So this devil done got to our people, man. Said that, not quite, the Watchman said that the white man is really black, but we're striving to be white. But then he said we bleach our skin. So, we just want to get the understanding. All right, we just want to get the understanding. But let's read this, right? I'm not going to read this whole chapter. I'm going to read a little bit, right? Job chapter 30 and verse 9. And now I am their song, yea, I am their byword. So now we become a proverb and a byword, a joke. They abhor me. They are the Edomites. No, it don't say Edomites in there. You don't have to. I don't see the word Esau. I don't see Idumea. It's not always going to say that. You have to look at this Bible in the spirit. The Bible is for the spiritual man. It's not for the logical man who needs proof of everything. If you need concrete proof and a sign and everything has to be perfect, then this book isn't for you. He said it's talking about the Edomites. I don't see the word Edomite. We're people of faith and discernment and a spirit. Job 30 is talking about the Edomites. They don't have to say Esau or Idumea or the Edom or Esau, like I said. You just know it in the spirit. You're looking at the context of who this individual is, and through process of elimination, you're singling out one type of man. All right? That's why the Bible's not for everybody. But let's read on. They abhor me, they flee far from me, and spare not the spit in my face. And that's what these nations do, chiefly Esau. Right? They abhor you, right? You're the last hired, first fired. They flee from you. You'll be walking across the street and they'll walk across the other side of the street. They'll clutch their purse, the woman, right? They'll double lock their doors when you walk past. And they'll spit in your face, man. They won't hesitate to spit in your face. Why? Because he is the Most High, right? Because he hath loosed my cord and afflicted me. They have also let loose the bridle before me. So our cord has been loosed. This is why we're black. A cord is like a bungee cord that attaches two things together. So when you loose that cord, those things become set apart, right? And they become distant from one another. Like a cord that you would tie your mattress to the top of your car. When you loose that cord, that mattress flies off in the wind and that car continues to go forward. So that cord that binds us to the Most High is the covenant, right? Our laws, statutes, and commandments. We have transgressed the law so much, it's equivalent to us being loose from the Most High. Now we're being afflicted, right? And that's judgment. They have also let loose the bridle before me. So the bridle is used on a horse to guide them in the right direction. See, the Most High was pulling us and directing our way in truth and directing our way in uprightness. Now that bridle has been loosed, then we have no guidance. All right? We're being pushed away from the Most High. Right? It reads, upon my right hand rise the youth. They push away my feet, and they raise up against me the ways of their destruction. And that's what Esau does. They push away our feet. Here we are trying to walk uprightly through the straight and narrow gate, and they turn us into the way of sodomy, turn us into the way of Christianity, push away our feet, and now we're celebrating Christmas. Push away our feet, and now we're marrying other races. Push away our feet, and now we're bowing down to stocks and stones. He's pushing you from the way of serving the Most High. Not only that, they raise up against you the ways of their destruction. What are the ways of the so-called white man's destruction? His devices, his sins, his constitution, his laws that he enforces, right? His agenda, his secret councils. These are the ways of their destruction risen up against us. Reading on. You're finding out why Job said that he was black. They mar my path. They set forward my calamity. They have no helper. So when you mar a path, you destroy it. We were taught to go on a plain path, right? When you look up let's put this in I believe that's Psalms, right? Lead them in a plain path. It's like a type path, right? Plain path. Psalms 27:11. Teach me, O Yahweh, Bashmi Abushai, and lead me in a plain path because of mine enemies. So Esau, he mars that path. He makes it harder for you to walk with Yahweh Bashmi Abushai. Because what do you do in the path? You walk. Where are we walking? We're walking with the Most High. What's our destination? The kingdom. What does Esau do? Mar your path. What does that mean? He puts potholes and digs ditches and lays snares and traps on your way to the Most High, which are his religions, his medicine, his curriculums, his education system, his politics. This is how he mars your path through sin and destroys the journey and our destination and our path that we have to go to, man. You know, they set forward my calamity. They have no helper. They came upon me as a wide breaking in of waters, like the Lord said the enemy will come in like a flood. In desolation, they have rolled themselves upon me, right? Terrors are turned upon me. They pursue my soul as the wind. That's the police chasing you, right? That's, you being pursued by these white supremacists. And my welfare passeth away as a cloud. That's these, your health deteriorating. You're stressed out. You're doing drugs. You're on crack. You're on dope. And now my soul is poured out upon me. Here's the point. The days of affliction have taken hold upon me. This is why Job said that I am black. Let's actually jump down. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burnt with heat. So Job said that he's catching so much hell, so much affliction. It's called being black. Because what causes your skin to be black or darker? The sun. And the sun, parabolically, is used in the Bible as a source, a primary source of affliction and judgment. We'll see that in the book of Mark, the 4th chapter, right? So let's actually get that. This is the book of St. Mark, chapter 4 and verse 3. Hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow. And let's see what happened to some of these seeds. Verse 6. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. So the sun is being used as a source of scorching up this seed. Now let's find out what this sun is. See, the parable is going to be explained, right? Mark 4:17. And have no root of themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. So how should I explain what the sun is? We said they have no root in themselves, they're scorched by the sun. Now that sun is being called affliction and persecution. You see that? Let's see that again. All right, let's look at it again. Mark 4:5. And some fell on stony ground where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang up because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, that sun is called affliction and persecution. When that parable is explained, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. So when that sun is up, it burns you. All right, it burns. And that's what that affliction and persecution is. The affliction of the sun. That links directly up with Song of Solomon, right? Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Same thing, my skin is black. Look not upon me because I am black. Why is Israel black? Because the sun hath looked upon me. You see that? So we're black because of the affliction. But parabolically or metaphorically, it's called the sun. See that? Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. And the sun looked upon Job. The sun is looking upon us. Because we're going through the curses right now. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket, cursed shall be thy store. Right? Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. Right? The Lord make thy heaven above the brass and thy feet above below the iron, paraphrasing. Right? These are the curses. That's us being afflicted by the sun. And now we are black. My mother's children were angry with me. Those are the other nations. They were angry, jealous, because they're not the chosen. They made me, meaning we didn't ask for this. We were forced. They made me. It didn't say we asked, we volunteered. They are these other nations, parabolically written as the mother's children. They made me keeper of the vineyards. So we were made to work in their fields, to build up their kingdoms, build up their nations, build up their societies, build up their monuments by force. And what happens when you stay out in that vineyard all day? You're getting afflicted by the sun, right? You've been afflicted. We need shade. We need protection. We need Yahweh. We don't want to be the keepers of these other nations' vineyards. We're sick of working in their fields. We're sick of building up this man's kingdom. We're sick of the 9-to-5s. Right? We're sick of these blue collar, white collar, whatever collar jobs, man. We don't want to be the keepers of the vineyards and be afflicted by the sun. We want to take shade in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Right? Let's get that in Psalms. We want to take shade in the Lord. Psalms chapter 121 and verse 5. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. So if the Lord is our shade, what does that mean? We're not being touched by. That means we're not being touched by the sun. See, like I said, the Bible is extremely parabolic, extremely metaphoric at times. Not all the time, but these are all dark sayings. It's not, some of this stuff is not plain. You have to go through the precepts. So the Lord is our shade to protect us from the sun. All right, so we run to the Most High, so we're no longer being black and being afflicted by the sun. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. So all that evil and affliction comes from the sun. We'll be saved from the sun smiting us and the moon smiting us if we go under the shade of the Most High. Now, when you go to the book of Lamentations, chapter 5, it reads, our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. Yeah, you don't get hungry and your skin turns black. It's speaking about the same thing, the affliction. All right, our lower state. You could be black because of the famine. You can be black because you're cursed in the city. You can be black because you don't know who your God is. You can be black because you have to work for the other nations. You can be black for many reasons. And they've always and will continually be used in a negative connotation, because that's the purpose that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua made that color for. It was created for judgment. All right. When you go into Zechariah chapter 6, you even have spirits that are being labeled black. This is Zechariah chapter 6 and verse 1. Right? It reads, and I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. So he saw actual chariots coming up between 2 mountains, talking about horses pulling a carriage with men in it, right? But they were symbolic for things, right? They were symbolic, right? For the power, it's like the spirits of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. All right. That's what these 4 chariots represent. They represent the judgments. And chariots move in force and they move fast. So these are swift judgments and powerful judgments of the Most High, and spirits that control these judgments And the first chariot were red horses. So what does the red represent? Red represents war, bloodshed. Okay. And then the second chariot, black horses. Black horses are symbolic for what? Judgment and affliction. Now you may say, well, why would the Most High God use colors on horses to describe spirits? Well, think about it. When you study animals, for the most part, mammals, their coat color kind of shows what kind of pedigree they have and what they have been created or bred for. All right. So if you look at a black horse, it was bred more than likely for a different purpose than a white horse or a speckled horse was bred for. You look at those tall Clydesdale horses, and they have those spots in them. You know that horse was made not to run in the race. That was made to pull carriages. You see that all black horse, and that horse was made to run races. You might see a horse that was bred to be in a circus, and they all have different coat colors. And we've covered this before. That is called hippology. Okay. Now, hippology is the study of the horse, right? You may say, well, that says hippo. What is hippology? Hippo just means water horse, all right? Right? So hippo, horse. Now, hippology, let's see if I can get some images. It studies the anatomy and physiology of the horse. So you know that certain coat colors symbolize different genes, right? And they show different biological traits in that horse. All right. Let's see. See that? And all of these horses they do different things. They have been genetically created to do different things. This buckskin can't do the same thing that black horse can do. A Clydesdale can't do the same thing a red dun can do. And any great farmer or a husbandman will look at that horse and know what to use that horse for. Oh, that black horse, man, that horse, I'm gonna have that horse, I'm gonna take that to war. Oh, but this horse right here, that red, that coat color, that shows me. See, that's the Most High sign to let you know what these animals are bred for, right? To let you know their purpose. Colors are used to separate, for separation and for identification markers. Okay? See that? So they even tell you, look, you got classic champagne, our black horse that carry the champagne gene, right? Then you got the gold champagne. They all do different things. That's why the Most High used colors on horses to symbolize the different offices that these angels have. The red horse does a different thing than the black horse, as much as a Mustang does a different thing than the Clydesdale. Okay? A pony would not do the same thing as a Mustang. So you have to have a look into the ancient mind to understand why the Most High uses particular metaphors or particular examples. Okay? Now, let's read it again. And the first chariot were red horses. Now, to look at red symbolizes, like I said, war or bloodshed. You know that based off of the precept, right? Let's go to Revelation, the 6th chapter. All right? Revelation chapter 6, and we'll read about the red horse. And verse 4. Revelation 6 and 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him. Let's see what this red horse does. That sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So the red horse job is to cause war on the earth, that men may kill one another. It's plain. Why do you think Esau came out red? How can we not say Esau came out blue? The Most High could have chose blue. He could have chose green. He could have chose black. He could have chose purple. Why red? Because in the mind of Yahweh, Bashmi Yahushai, he has signified red as a color of bloodshed and war. And who's the most warlike man on the earth? Esau. Who's creating atomic bombs, nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, RPG missiles, plasma grenades, damn heat rays, death rays, torture devices? The red man. All right. That's why you have red horses. And they work for the Mossad too. Red horses directly influence the so-called white man. You know? And the second chariot, black horses. So this links back up to the question. The black horses, their job is to cause affliction and persecution. That's why Song of Solomon said, I am black because of the affliction of the sun. Job said, my skin is black. Jeremiah said, we're black because of the famine. They're black because of what the black horses have done. They have brought the judgment of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai. They bang the gavel. They're like your executioners. When you look at those ancient executioners, what color hood do they wear? They wear black. Right? Let's see if we can find that. Black. Or let's see, medieval. We'll do medieval. And it's pretty much a lot of generations. Executioner mask. See that? Now, why do they wear black? How come they don't wear pink or, okay, I want to wear white. Okay, I want to wear green. Well, black is what? Judgment. You know? It's really judgment. Right? So let's go back to this. Now, black also, when you study the etymology, black is the color of sin. And we brought that out before. Okay, black. Here's the etymology, meaning the origin of this word. Okay, black was used of dark-skinned people in Old English, of coffee with nothing added, attested by 1796. Here's the point. The meaning, fierce, terrible, wicked. Right? This is why you're called a black man, because you're terrible, you're fierce, you're always angry and upset, you're loud, you're terrible, you can't do nothing right, you're lazy, you're wicked, right? The figurative senses often come from the notion of, quote unquote, without light, moral or spiritual. See that? We're without light, we're moral or spiritual. Latin nigger had many of the same figurative senses: gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, malicious. The metaphoric use of the Greek word malas, however, tended to reflect the notion of shrouded in darkness, overcast. So it's like a spell. It's like witchcraft, man. You know, in English, here's the point. It has been the color of sin and sorrow since the 1300s. Black has always been a color of sin and sorrow. Job was going through sorrow and asked, what were my sins? Jeremiah, our people, they said, look, Jeremiah said, look, our skin was black. This is sorrow, affliction due to our sins. Song of Solomon, my skin is black upon me. I mean, it's like you look not upon me because I am black. Because of what? Our sins. And it brings sorrow. That's all it's talking about. All right? That's all it's talking about. So let's move on. Okay, let's move on to the next question. All right. Stefano Kennedy. Shalom King. What does it mean by the Most High will have a new name in Revelation chapter 3 and 12? All right, let's deal with it. Let's go to Revelation chapter 3. I know I said rapid fire, right? Never said rapid. I said rapid fire, but you know, kind of the spirit have us kind of digging deep. Sometimes we do rapid fire. We kind of go through these questions. Sometimes, if the spirit permits, we try to dive deep into these questions to give the sense. Okay, now this is Revelation chapter 3 and 12. Him that overcometh, let's read this brother question again, right? Shalom King, what does it mean by the Most High will have a new name? All right, let's deal with it. Revelation 3 and 12 again. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name. So let's break this whole thing down. The Lord said, him that overcometh, what do you have to overcome? This flesh, persecution, Jacob's trouble, the day-to-day fight to stand in spirit, the world. If you do that, the Lord will make you a pillar. Does that mean you're going to shapeshift? Right? You're a shapeshifter. 1 minute you're a man, then you could turn into a pillar, then you could turn into a lion. No, it's not talking about shapeshifter. Right? It's a metaphor. A pillar is a fundamental part of any building used to uphold that building and support that building and keep that building from collapsing. See, we are the kingdom of the Most High. We are the temple of the Most High. Certain men are going to be pillars in that. They're going to uphold the kingdom of heaven due to their office and due to their responsibilities that they're going to be given by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And that concept is nothing new. Remember, when you go to Galatians, the Apostle Paul called Peter, Cephas, and John pillars of the church. I believe that's Galatians, the 2nd chapter. All right. Galatians chapter 2 and 9. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, see that? Perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go into the heathen and they into the circumcision. So these men were pillars in the temple back then. If you overcome, you'll be a pillar in the coming kingdom of heaven. You'll have an office to help uphold the kingdom of heaven. It reads, and he shall go no more out, meaning you won't go back in the world, right? You can't fall out the truth. Just like a temple is set in stone. And I will write upon him the name of my God, meaning the Most High is going to put his laws in your inward parts. All right. When you write on a pillar, it shows that you possess it. Okay, we pulled that up before. And what we pulled up was I can't remember the name that they said, a plaque of let's see, a plaque of founding a building, right? I can't remember the exact word, but when you look up, okay, I spelled that wrong. Like when you look up a building like this, see that Boston founded 1630. So whoever wrote this, let's say the city of Boston owns this. This belongs to both Boston. Boston has written their name in this pillar or this wall. So this wall belongs to the architect or the city in 1650 or 1620. Hold on, let me go back. See, we are going to become pillars, and the Lord is going to write upon us his new name. So we're not, meaning we have become the true possession. We're no longer the possession of the world. We no longer belong to Satan. We no longer belong to the so-called white man. We now belong to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, right? Explicitly. That's what this means. It's the same analogy. The name of my God. What's the name of Yahushua's God? Who is his God? Yahweh. Does that mean we're literally going to have that name etched in us? No, it's just a metaphor. Meaning the Lord's laws are going to be in our inward parts and in our mind. Just like in the mind of this system is fornication and sin. Let's get that in Revelation chapter 17. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 5. And upon her forehead was a name written. Does America have the name of the Most High upon her forehead? No. What's in her mind? Mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So people right now, they have the name of the beast on them. People have this whore, America has this name written upon it. All right. Meaning this is what they exemplify. This is what America is about. We're going to be solely and strictly and owned. We're going to be about Yahweh and owned by Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. That's what name we're going to have written upon us. We will not have mystery Babylon the Great written upon us. No, right? We're going to belong to the Most High. What else is going to be on our name or written upon us? And the name of the city of my God. Like this, the name of the city is Boston. Where is it at? Right? Now, normally these ancient pillars will have who erected it, like the architect, and then it will have the city on it, right? So that's the comparison that the Lord is using. It's going to be New Jerusalem, meaning we belong to the Most High and we belong to New Jerusalem, meaning the people and that land. Let's read on. Which cometh down from heaven out of my God, and I will write upon him my new name. Now, this new name doesn't mean, let's go to Hebrews 13:8. Doesn't mean Yahweh's name is going to be Yahweh, then it's going to be Dion in the kingdom, right? Or Yahweh, then he turned into Yahweh. That's not, the Lord doesn't change. All right, let's prove that. Hebrews chapter 13. All right, Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. Yahweh HaMashiach, the same yesterday and today and forever. So the Lord is not going to change his name. The Most High don't change his name. Michael's name isn't going to change. Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Satan, right? Those names remain the same. So when it says, I will write upon him the name, my new name, meaning we're going to finally understand what Yahweh Shai stands for, right? The totality of the Lord, because we don't know the Lord like that. We only know the name. When I say the name, I'm not talking about the name Yahweh Shai. So your name is more than your name. Your name is what you stand for, your character. Right now, we know the Lord vaguely. All we know is the Lord through the text and through what's written, right? But the Lord is going to open himself completely up to us and give us his new name, meaning what the Lord truly stands for, right? And I'll break that down. What that means is who the Lord's chosen are, who's going to do what in the kingdom, what Yahweh Shai's complete role will be, right? What the judgments will be upon the earth. All of that exemplifies his new name that he's going to write upon us. All right, we're going to be owned by Yahweh Shai in its perfect essence. It's not saying that we're going to have Yahweh Shai's name tatted on us. Next question. HBKN. What if I courted Eve, lay with her, right? But she doesn't consider me her husband. Says I'm a friend. Well, that's off. All right, that's off. Right? You court a woman, you lay with her, she said you're just a friend. Well, that's off. Right now, I have a lot to say about that. If you courted a woman, now anything could happen. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? This is not the platform to really figure this thing out, right? But let's say, in a perfect world, y'all were courting this brother, you told her, sex was marriage, and y'all took y'all time to court, months, and y'all were on one accord until y'all finally laid down, and now she kind of reneged and said, no, we're just friends. If that's the case, then that's complete whoredom and evil, right? Let's just bring that up. Let's just make that plain. That is complete whoredom and evil. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 23. Right, let's talk about it. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 17. There shall be no whore. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Now, what's a whore? Well, a whore, straight up and down, is a woman who has sex with men outside of her husband. That's a whore. That's all it is. It's not nothing deep to it. Or a whore is a woman who has sex, right? She has laid down with her husband, but says that her husband is just her friend. You're not my husband. That's a whore. She has now become a whore, if that's the road that she wants to take, right? Now, what can you do in that situation? Well, in all honesty, all you can do is remind her the laws and the statutes and the commandments. and not suffer sin upon her. It could be a demon hopped on, it could be a spirit, right? But you always want to rebuke your neighbor. That's the fundamental law, right? Leviticus 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So if they say that, you correct them. Hey, look, I don't know, I don't know if you remember, we went over this. We talked about this. You said you believed in the truth. We went over the law. We read Exodus 22:16. We read this precept and that, and we both agreed. We went to Sirach 25:1 that a man and a wife would agree together. And we laid down together. And before we laid down, you said that you agreed to the scripture, but now you're saying otherwise. Well, that would be off. That would be a whoredom according to the Bible. Right? Here's this precept in Deuteronomy. Here's this precept in Romans. Here's this precept here. And she gotta either say, okay, yeah, I'm going off. I don't know what I was thinking. That was the flesh. I went off. Forgive me. I shouldn't have did that. Or she'd say, hey, look, you're still a friend, Negro, right? And it is what it is. And she wipe her hands on her mouth and peel off in the night, man. Right? Can you go chase her down and handcuff? No, you can't do that. You let her go. Right? You just let her go. Right? You can't chase her. Now, by law, she's still married to you. Rather her mind, you're a friend or not. She's still married to you by law. So whoever she laid down with next, she's going to be committing adultery and cause that man to commit adultery. Can you put her away? No, you can't put her away unless she commit adultery. Right? But if she runs and does her own thing, there's not nothing you can do about that. And that spirit is going to reveal that in due time. All right. So let's move on. Why does it seem like Judah's lot is heavier than the other tribes in this captivity? Well, we all going through the curses collectively, but remember, Judah, every tribe has a particular amount of blessings and curses and judgments given to them. Right? Remember, out of Judah came the chief ruler. Right? Judah is where the kings came from. Right? Let's go to 1 Chronicles. I believe that's 1 Chronicles 5. 1 Chronicles 5:1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn. But for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel. In the genealogy, it's not to be reckoned after his birthright, the birthright, right? For Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler, but the birthright was Joseph's. So that's the point, right? Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler. Now, Yahushua said it best. Yahushua said, unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And unto whom men have committed much, of him ask the more. So Judah, as being a king, you're required, or you're held to a high standard, a higher standard. Right? So that's why Judah, it seems as though, again, all tribes are catching hell, but Judah is really, they don't have a place of refuge. Benjamin, they can go back to the Bahamas. They can go back to Jamaica. Benjamin can go. I'm not saying it's the best condition there. The only point I'm making is they can go back to another land, right? They can go back to the St. Lucia. Your Levites can go back to Haiti. Your Gad, they kind of got they got a reservation. It's still hell, don't get me wrong, but Judah don't have nothing, man. Asher, they can go back to Brazil or Bolivia, but where is Judah going to go? Simeon, they can go back to the Dominican Republic. Ephraim can go back to Puerto Rico. Zebulon can go back to Nicaragua, Honduras, and Guatemala, Panama. But the Judite man, you're going to go back to the projects, boy. Negro, you're going to go back to the ghettos, the slums, right? You don't have nowhere to go. You deal with particular things that the other tribes don't necessarily deal with, right? Judah deal with a lot. All the tribes deal with a lot, but Judah deal with a lot too, man. Right? That's not being tribalism. Well, that's not me saying the other tribes don't deal with anything, but you see how the Judites, the majority of the men being shot by the police are Judite men. right? You know, you don't see too many. I'll use Zebulonites. Now they're going through their own thing, right? Every tribe is going through their own thing, but people being murdered publicly, you know, people being lynched, people still being decapitated. A lot of that is Judah, right? And that's just me being upfront about it, right? Is that something that Judah wants to claim? No, we will all want the kingdom of heaven, but this is just the reality of the matter. That Judah naturally, just like other tribes, are going to deal with things that the other tribes don't deal with. They all have a common denominator, but they all have independent things that they also deal with. All right, so Luke 12:47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. Right? So if you know the Lord's will and don't prepare yourself, you will get a heavier judgment. Judah knew the Lord's will. They didn't prepare their heart towards the Most High. They were the kings. The kings are supposed to be very knowledgeable in the law. A king is really supposed to be a master of the law. When you read Deuteronomy chapter 17, because it's their job to execute judgment. So if you don't know the law, how can you be a king? Our kings didn't prepare themselves, right? They served other gods and dealt these heathen women and built altars for false gods, and we didn't do his will. So now we're being beaten with many stripes. But he that knew not, you had other tribes that weren't kings. They weren't called to be the king. So they didn't really have to uphold what was written in Deuteronomy chapter 17 about the office of a king. They didn't have to, they weren't given that commandment. That commandment was set up for Judites, you know? Just like Leviticus 21 and other chapters are set up for the high priest. Number 6 is set up for a Nazarite. Certain laws pertain to different people's groups within a nation. All right, rather it's an office or a tribe. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So the Lord asked more of Judah. Judah does not do it. So Judah gets beaten with many stripes. All right. So let's roll through this. That's right. Jerome French, right? That man was an Israelite in Ethiopia. That's why he was going to Jerusalem. Right. That's right. That's right. Right. But with that, I'm going to close up. Giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh. We may do another Q&A later throughout the week, Lord willing. More breakdowns, more scriptural understanding. Most High willing, you are edified. Kwam Yasha. Shalom.